Hello world. So I figured I'd do another video with this Mambo drone. We've been getting in some new products to work on new projects with the kids. At the end of our state championships, I decided to jump on the drone bandwagon as well because there were supposed to be some more local competitions going, and then the new REC drone program. But then all this coronavirus stuff hit and just about everything got canceled, but we still have the drones here. So the ultimate goal is actually start using our Python programs to interface with Raspberry Pis and use the Bluetooth connection from the Pis to these drones. It's kind of the long-term goal of doing some autonomous flight, but prior to that, I've been getting kids trained up on the actual drone piloting. So this is the Parrot MAMBO. This is the new system that they've been putting out for what's supposed to happen for the REC system. What you see here, if I got the actual controller, and then I just put one of the phones that I have here connected to it. What's unique about this app is not only do you have the regular controls via the controller itself, but when you interface with the phone, you have a lot of other controls where you can set it into, let's actually go into this, for example. Right here on the settings, you have the ability to swap between normal, drift, and racing mode and be able to increase your speed, do certain cutoffs or altitude maximums. You can do a lot of different things when you actually drop the phone on there. And a good note there, when you first get these out of the box, you do have to interface with the phone and basically tell the controller and the drone to pair. Otherwise, they don't just automatically pair outside the box. But I figure we'll do a little bit of flying around here just so everybody can see how the drone works. And this is basically, as you saw there, I just pushed the takeoff button, so it just kind of took off on its own. It does have a sonar on the bottom, so it helps keep it from getting too close to the ground, or when it notices it is close to the ground, it has the ability to you can hit the auto land, and it uses that to land itself. I did notice if you do fly it too close to the ground and the sonar does pick something up, it will start to fly a little bit funky just because it thinks it's close to something, is trying to avoid. The only way to get out of that is to either hit the land button or to increase your altitude. Like I had said, there's some different settings, so it's been flying around right here with the normal mode. So I'm going to switch it, and you can switch it on the fly. I'm switching it over to the racing mode. It gives me a little bit more capability. So I get a lot more forward pitch. I do gain a lot of yaw off of that. And with that extra forward and reverse pitch, I do gain a lot more speed. But with these, you do have to be careful, because you can definitely run into, well, in my environment here, trees or walls if you're inside, a lot of different things. And with the guards on there, you're typically not going to break anything too badly. But if you do go into racing mode and you slam into a wall, for example, that could be a good chance to break off an arm. But the guards do work pretty well. They have a quick release function to them in essence. So it's kind of just the plastic has a little bit of tension to it, and it grabs onto some little nodules that as soon as it hits something, that kind of absorbs the impact. So those guard will actually fall off or fly off, and then typically the blades themselves can fly off as well because they're just kind of pushed on. But they do pretty well with impacts. I haven't broken anything yet with these, and the kids have, during their learning process, have definitely ran into some stuff. And during the learning process, it's definitely good to keep the guards on. You do have the normal mode. You can, within the app, you can actually turn down the overall capability of it, so you can make it so it flies a little bit slower. You can make it so you have an altitude max. So with that sonar shooting down, it's always sensing what's below it, and then through that process, it can determine how high it is. And that sonar system, if you don't know how the sonar works, it basically just shoots out a signal. It's an audio signal that's not audible to human ears, but it shoots out a signal, and then based on how long it takes for that signal to return is a computation of how far away from that surface it is. You can do the same thing with any standard sonar. You can shoot it down, you can shoot it forward, you can shoot it left and right. Sometimes we'll do a camera on a servo pan tilt system and add a sonar to that so that you can have some different functions for look forward, look left, look right, and then take in the variables off those sonars to determine how close things are for you. And then what I've done in the past a lot of times with these robots is you can set that variable of your left, right, and forward, so you can basically have a loop where the servo is always looking forward, always looking left, always looking right, just kind of banking back and forth. And that way you can input on that variable and make decisions in your program based on whatever those variable values are. So for example, if it sees something to the right, when it looks to the right, it'll veer off to the left. Or if it does see something in front of it, it'll stop, it can turn, it can just go in reverse, it can do a full pivot. You can do a lot of different things once you start taking in inputs off the servos, or off the sensors. But that's one way to, instead of having a whole lot of different sensors, you can have a single sensor that you then just move back and forth from left to right or forward. This device does not have that capability. On this drone, though, there is a front-facing camera you can get, and there is a goggle setup that you can do. So as you fly around, you can actually see what the drone sees. Now this system, I do believe, has a down-facing camera, so you can do some different stuff with it. But I have not explored into what the capabilities are there. Thus far, we've basically just been flying just line of sight, and then working on trying to get the Raspberry Pis to connect to it and do some different autonomous stuff. There's some interesting videos out there just to begin with, where you can basically take off, push some buttons, it can do some flips, and you can make it land again. There are some pretty cool buttons on the controller where you can program the different buttons to do different flips and a lot of different things. So there's definitely a lot of cool functionality built into these units, and there's a Parrot library for Python that you can import, and you can make calls based on that. And you notice right here it's landing on its own. So one thing it does do with the lithium cutoff, once it determines the battery power is too low to continue flight safely, it will automatically land on its own. So that's what we just did here. So that's just a quick little intro of the Parrot MAMBO here, and we'll get into some more functionality as well as the racing mode and what you can do for some of the flips, which is really cool actually, when you just push a button and it does the flips either forward, left, or right. And then you can actually start doing that when you do the Python programming. Once you import that library, there's a lot of stuff that you can do based on your autonomous flight, what you want it to do, the sensors, a lot of different things. What I'd like to see if I can do even is add a small intelligent stick to it to help it do some more autonomous flight. So if we can Bluetooth from an onboard device to it, and then have that device even connect over Wi-Fi or connect over cellular, then you could do a lot of longer range flight. Obviously we have pretty minimal battery time with this type of a unit, but there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it, and I think it will be a fun experiment. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully it helped from you.